Hello and welcome to the PC Security channel. Today we'll be taking a look at Comodo Internet Security version 8.2. Now I got several requests from Comodo themselves to give this product a test, so we'll be giving it a full test with all our malware links and malware samples available. So first of all, let's take a look at the general UI. As you can see, this UI has come through nicely from version 7, and it's still doing pretty well. We have our important things over here like scan and update, and we can go to tasks for advanced settings. Now this is a UI I have really learned to like. I didn't like it too much when it first came out, but the more I use it, the more useful I find it. And as you can see, it's very functional. You've got so many different options for customization, so you can have it just the way you like it, and you can have the things you do frequently over here. So it's a really nice UI. I think, this is a really standard UI for Comodo to continue with and just refine, which is what they've been doing, in every next version. They've just been making this UI a little bit better looking, but it's the basic layout structure is the same. And I'd like them to keep it this way because it's pretty good at the moment. So first of all, I'm going to do an update. This is customary for all my reviews, so you should be expecting this by now. And as you can see, everything is up to date. Now the next thing you notice that's different in this UI that was not there in the previous version is this upgrade window. Now of course, this is an annoying addition, as most users will perceive it. But what Comodo have been doing is, they add these little, ads and banners like other free programs to promote their paid products, but they give advanced users the option, if you go in here, to turn all of these off. So thank you, Comodo, for giving people like me a chance to get rid of the banners. So you can actually turn off their Comodo Message Center, which I guess most people do. And you can also turn off their desktop widget. I kind of like it, the way it gives you the network usage. I've found this thing to be very useful sometimes, but the rest of it, I don't ever use it. So you can turn that on and off if you like. And I usually don't need information messages when tasks are minimized or sent to the background. Now they have sound alerts and show the upgrade button in the main window. It's kind of odd that the product gives you a setting to turn on whether or not you want to see that upgrade window, but it's well thought out. So basically an Office user will get the advertising and might be tempted to click on it and maybe get their premium protection. And at the same time, an advanced user is not going to complain because he or she can go in here and just turn it on and off, so you don't have to see that anymore. So anyway, let's take a look at the other things, updates, logging. Now let's get to the interesting parts. Security. So the real-time AV is still the same. They've made some optimizations to the update process, I guess, to make it more light. But apart from that, same scanner. Let's see how the detection rates come up, because I haven't been too happy with Comodo's detection in the last couple of versions. Defense Plus. Now this is the main feature of Comodo. They have excellent zero-day protection, and they are not even using the intrusion prevention system anymore. It's entirely sandbox. So I'm going to keep it this way. When I use it on my host machine, sometimes I turn on this and, I turn it to clean PC mode and I use it that way, but Comodo don't think it's necessary, so they have the intrusion prevention off and they automatically sandbox programs coming from outside the system. So here are the extensive rules for auto sandbox. Now I really like how they have changed this UI so that it's fully customizable now. Comodo has been always, one of the favorite tools of advanced users, so they're holding on to that fan base with more and more customization options. Personally, I'm a big fan of this. Now virus scope. Honestly, I haven't seen too many alerts from this module, and I hope we'll see some today, but then again, it's been pretty solid for me. Now basically what it does is it dynamically analyzes the behavior of running processes, which is basically the heart of zero-day protection, and I would really like to see this component in action, and because this is how the machine actually analyzes and finds malware on its own. And I think this is the future of protection. Everything has to work this way, because sometimes going to come when there'll be just too many malware, and it'll be just too easy to create new malware samples that you just can't have people manually adding each of them to the signature. So dynamically analyzing behavior and flagging suspicious actions, that's the future for me. VirScope along with Sandbox and a few other things like file rating. So Comodo do the whitelist and blacklist both at the same time. They kind of whitelist good files to make it easier for them to pass through, and have all these restrictions in place so harmful files are not they're not allowed to enter the system easily. So anyway, this is all stuff you probably already know. I've talked about this enough. So let's just get to the test, and we'll see how all this technology works out and whether or not it's good enough to keep this computer clean. In the end, that's what matters. It doesn't matter how much flashy technology you have or how many nice things you've written about your product in the settings. What matters is whether or not it can protect you protect the end user. So let's get started. So here's our first link, very small file. Let me go ahead and run it. And as you'd expect, Comodo catches it. So I'm not gonna get this question again, no. So it's been auto quarantined. So we're gonna get rid of that. Now this is another funny way how Comodo wants an expert to clean a file which is already being auto quarantined. It's kind of funny, but I guess they have to do it some way. Okay, let me just turn off my filter on my host machine. Let's resume and try to download this malware again. This is weird. This is a text file, and it says spy.txt might have been moved or deleted. I didn't get any alert from Comodo, but it doesn't look like it's doing much. It's just a notepad document. Did it drop something? I don't know. But I didn't get any alert from Comodo, so unless I see some malicious action, I'll just assume that the system is clean. Unless our second opinion scanners detect anything, of course. Now this is the next threat, and it's caught straightforward. Signature detection. I've got all this stuff on my host machine popping up every time. Alright, next link. Here we go. Another really small file, and detected by these signatures. So it's all Comodo antivirus. Now keep in mind that Comodo do have some kind of web blocking with their firewall these days. It's not that good though. From what I've noticed, it blocks sites way too late. Like it blocks things that are almost detected by everybody. So it's not that good of an addition, but it's nice to know that they're also working in that direction. So this is a fairly big file as far as malware goes. Let's see if it's blocked by the signatures. So this file is ready to run, so we're going to go ahead and run it. Not detected by the signatures, but it has been run virtually. So Comodo Sandbox doing its job there. Let's see if it works out ideally and we don't have to do anything to keep our PC clean. Now here's the RAR file. Let's try extracting it and see if it's caught. No, it's not. So I'm going to go ahead and run this. And once again, application has been isolated. So as you can see, Comodo's signatures are not the best, but ultimately what matters is whether or not it can stop the malware from doing its thing. So I don't care if the zero-day components block it. In fact, I'd be even happier because it makes the test more interesting. Okay, it looks like I got the same file twice. Never mind. different links, probably leading to the same malware. Here's an executable. So let's try running it. And Comodo says it's not recognized and requests unlimited access. So the default is to run isolated. You can grant it unlimited access, or you can just block the application from executing. Now, since it says clearly default over here, no confusion, I'm just going to click this. That's what the software recommends me to do. Of course, sometimes Comodo can have false positives despite their whitelisting, although it's pretty good. I've seen a lot of legitimate applications being let through without any alert, but we still always have that odd file that is not in the whitelist, and you might get an alert for that. But hey, that's not so bad. Let's run this file, and once again, application was isolated. As you can see, Comodo's signatures aren't the greatest. That's a trend I've been seeing lately. Not the best signatures. Even this one is run virtually. I'm a little bit surprised some of the last ones weren't detected, but anyway, they're all being run virtually, so it's not like I'm seeing any damage over here. So let's just see if we have anything malicious running in memory or doing something. We definitely have stuff running, but they might be in the sandbox, so they're unable to do any real damage. But that's not for me to say whether or not they're able to do damage. That's for us to find out with the help of our second opinion scanners. So what I'm going to do is I'll let the system run for a few minutes, then, just run CCleaner, reboot the system, and run my second opinion scanners and see if anything got through during this web prevention test. So I'll be right back with the results. Alright, so we're back with the results of our second opinion scans. Malwarebytes completed its threat scan and it says nothing was detected. For some weird reason, even though I checked for updates several times, it's showing it's not up to date. Should we do the scan again? Never mind. So let's take a look at Hitman Pro. Now this is where we actually found a threat, flashhp.exe or flashp.exe. It's located in app data roaming, so I decided to give this location a visit since we have such a nice friend of ours stationed there. Now the thing to note is whether or not this malware is actually going to cause any damage or be active in the system. So let's go ahead and try to run this again. This is obviously not active in memory right now. Now let's see what happens if we try run this. Does Comodo block it? Does it allow it? Does it even run? Let's see. Now this is weird. I do see something that I do not recognize. Flashp.exe. Actually, this seems like active malware in memory. This is a Trojan, and it seems to be running just fine. I'm not sure if it's still in the sandbox or not, or if it's just spying on my data right now. Come on, Comodo. Let's see if we can actually locate it. Now, this just shows me my process, but let's try resetting the sandbox and see if that gets rid of it. I don't want to see that flashp.exe no more, but well, hey, wait, it's still there. It's still active in memory. So anyway, I can't really get to the bottom of this right now. So we'll continue the test. I'll keep looking up flashp.exe, our new friend, And meanwhile, I'm not gonna give Comodo a clean sheet because there might be one Trojan that's sneaked past. Okay, it seems like Malwarebytes is finally doing its update. So I won't do the scan right now. I'll wait until we get over with our file testing. So first I'm going to disable the antivirus for 15 minutes. Should be good. Nah, I'm just gonna do it for 30. I don't want to be interrupted while copying my files. So let's go ahead and grab our malware samples. We've got a ton of these today. Just got a fresh package, but it's not really fresh. They're from 4 days old. So it's all a mixture. Everything's around, you can take the average to be around less than a week old. But we do have 564 items. So now is the moment to find out if Comodo has actually improved on their detection rate. I know it's not the prime thing that they're focusing on, but it's good to know what's their detection as compared to the competition. It used to vary from like average to good, but for the last couple of tests I've seen it go sometimes below average to average. Let's see how it ends up today. The cleaning process is complete, so it's time to see what we're left with, and we're left with 189 items. I'm just gonna scan it again just to be sure. Well, it looks like we're detecting a few more threats. 5 items found. Let's apply the actions, and now we're left with 185. That's still pretty bad. Another scan just to see everything's clean. Yes, it is. That's not true. That's definitely not true. So anyway, I'm not gonna recalculate the detection rate because I already did it for 189 items. It'll just be slightly better than that. So that's 66.4. I'll give it a 67%, but ouch, that's still pretty bad. So the detection rate is still pretty disappointing from Comodo. In fact, there was a time when I used to see some decent detections, but that has really changed in the last few days. I don't know why. Have they tried to make their engine more light and move more signatures out, or is it just that they're not keeping up with it as well as they should? Anyway, signatures is not the prime focus of this product. I think we all understand that. So let's get to their prime focus, that is 0-day protection. So, welcome back. Well, in order to conduct the 0-day test, I had to figure something else out, because as you know, since the previous version and this version, we cannot do our usual 0-day testing with Comodo, and the reason is they have a very specific setting in their auto sandbox that allows any file that is on the PC to run freely in order to reduce false positives, while any file originating from the internet or that is coming from a network drive or a USB flash drive, it is run virtually. So as you can see, if the origin is internet, it's run virtually. If it's from a network drive or removable drive, it's also run virtually. So basically it assumes that you have a clean computer. So I'm not going to just disable the AV and drag in the files, because then I know the sandbox is not going to work, and that's okay, because no regular user is going to disable the AV and drag in files. If they do, it's their problem. It's not the responsibility of the antivirus. But where are they going to drag it from? It's not like they're running it on a virtual machine. So either they're going to get it from the internet, or they'll get it from an external hard drive, a removable drive, a network location, and all those places are present in the sandbox category where it mentioned, run these files virtually, the ones originating from sources like the ones I mentioned. So I'm going to do the same thing. So I just plugged in my USB thumb drive, and I've got all the malware here that Comodo did not detect. It's still detecting a few of these, but I'm sure that's just a couple. And all of these are undetected by Comodo. As you can see, the AV is turned on. And these are the same files I used during the detection test. These are the leftovers. I just transferred them to a USB flash drive and then plugged it back in. And now we can actually do the 0-day part of the test. This is Comodo's strength. This is what they've been investing so much time and effort in. So let's see how this works. So this application, once again, it's unidentified publisher. It requests unlimited access. So I'm going to select the default option of running it virtually. And we'll just keep going. This was automatically run virtually. I'm sure that'll be the case for a lot of applications, in fact most of them. Now this is all happening because this is a USB thumb drive. If I transferred these files to the desktop, which would be an incorrect test procedure, none of these files would be blocked. So if you're watching any other tests where, it's not blocking anything, that's why. That's the reason. So, I've discussed this in the previous version as well. So if you're still unclear as to how it works or, why I'm doing this, you can take a look at that video. So this is their 0-day protection. Everything is being run virtually. Now we'll wait and see if any of these applications are able to do some damage from within the sandbox. That to me is the real test. Now since it gives you a default option, it should be pretty easy to select. But I can still see, some users having a problem with this. Because as good as their whitelisting is, there's still going to be legit applications from the internet or from somewhere else that it might give you this alert. All these applications are being isolated. Let's run a few more and then we'll call it the end of the test. All this is actually running on the system, but virtually. Looks like one of these processes is spawning reghack or whatever.exe again and again. Starting to see visual artifacts now. We'll go ahead and try as many samples as we can. Alright, that should be enough. I've actually ran too many samples this time. Comodo's been quick to isolate them. Anyway, so after the disappointing detection rate, this is where you'd guess Comodo would actually do very well. And we'll have to wait and find out. Here's some adware. Let's try installing that. Let's see if it's able to do any damage. So as you can see, lots of things happening at the moment. I'm sure there are a ton of things running in memory. So all I'm going to do is let this computer run for a while and then do the usual procedure. Restart the system, run CCleaner, and then run my second opinion scans, and then I'll be able to give the final verdict on the 0-day protection as well as Comodo Internet Security 8.2 on a whole. So I'll be right back with the final results. Welcome back. I actually resumed the video prematurely because even after deleting the malware and emptying the quarantine and everything, I haven't reset the sandbox and all the files are still present in this directory, which is a temporary file directory, so they're all being detected by Hitman Pro. So let's try running these and see if they're isolated again or they're allowed to run just fine. Seems like they're allowed to run just fine right now. because now they're on the computer and this is a temporary file directory. So I know nobody's gonna come here and execute them, but still then it's an important thing to note. Now, are these still being sandboxed? How do I check that? As you can see, that file is still running. Have a ton of process. As you can see, it's still trying to write that malicious file. Alright, this was the place, and as you can see, nothing sandboxed, so these files are pretty much free to run right now. So you can just go ahead and run them and infect your computer. I know it's highly unlikely that anyone's going to go into this temp folder and run them. You can most likely just delete them and be done with it, but that would probably be the usual scenario. But even then, I'm pretty concerned that if you go over there and then you run these files, they can infect your computer just as if there were no protection. Of course, this is all, on a spec. It's just the 0-day samples. I mean, the ones that are not in their signatures, they're vulnerable to this, but I still consider this a vulnerability. So, this is how malware could somehow exploit Comodo to enter your system. So that is why I still think that even though this is more user-friendly, the previous way of protection was better. Now I know this is a very unlikely scenario where the user is going to visit, the temp files and run them. They'll probably be cleaned out after a while, but the fact that we have got executable malware on the system that is, free to execute or to get executed. Maybe there could be another piece of malware that might run those. There's so many different scenarios, so I'm not a big fan of this new system where Comodo actually does not completely block files from any source. It classifies them by source. It feels like a smart addition, but it comes with its limitations or disadvantages. So anyway, apart from that, system would be pretty much clean. But if you consider those files as infections, we have pretty much a ton of 0-day malware sitting in the computer right now. Yes, it is dormant unless I run it, but even then, I'd probably want to take a safer route. So Comodo is still a great tool for advanced users. It's a lot of fun to use and play with, and it does a pretty good job if you know what you're doing. But again, it's not for everyone. I mean, for a regular user, it's still going to give you, probably more false positives and alerts, because I've had experiences where I install Comodo on some, novice user's computer, and they just give me a call every time and ask me, okay, what's this alert? What am I supposed to click? So it's not the most automatic protection, even with auto sandbox and everything, and auto sandbox does sometimes flag legitimate files. They're trying to reduce that, but again, in the process, they're introducing vulnerabilities like this. So I think, we're still not there yet. We need to probably, give this product a bit more thought. The technology is definitely there. The features are there. My advice to Comodo would be, instead of just adding more features, try to consolidate on what you already have and try to make those different modules talk to each other and function exactly as you want them to function. And, creating a much more integrated experience for the user instead of so many different components that do different things. And ultimately, we don't want results like this, where we have files on the system that can actually lead to infection, although that is not likely. So, you know, those who watch this channel, you probably already know Comodo is one of my favorite products. I've been using it for a long time, and I'd still say that. But in this version, as you can see, the signatures are not all that great, and that wouldn't be a complaint if the zero-day protection was as good as Comodo probably hope it is. But as you can see, it still has some, you know, shortcomings here and there, and we still have files every now and then getting past their defenses. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review. I know it was a little bit of a confusing one because I myself was pretty confused as to what was happening over here, but as you can see, okay, now it's detecting stuff in the network folder. Never mind. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review. I'll make sure to check out Comodo again when they release a new version. I hope they fix some of these issues. So stay tuned to the PC Security channel. Stay informed, stay secure.